We continue question 2. Examine the characteristics of strategic management, 10 marks. So this one is a very simple question. So here you are asked about the characteristics of strategic management. So from our definition in the first topic, we saw that when we talk about strategic management, we talk about a process that is continuous. A process of planning, monitoring, analyzing and assessing all the necessities an organization needs to meet its goals and objectives. So it is a continuous process of doing that: planning, monitoring, analyzing and assessing. So the key characteristics include, it is long-term orientation. So here we talk about when we talk about long-term orientation, we talk about focusing on the long-term direction of the organization. And then goal-oriented, so it is driven by achievement of certain objectives. And then another characteristic is environmental scanning. So you cannot talk about a strategic management without talking about scanning internal and external environment. So a crucial characteristic is the systematic scanning of both the internal and external environment. So here we talked about internal environment in the notes. Talk about the strengths, weaknesses like the organization structure, corporate culture, technological capability. When talk about the external environment, talk about the opportunities and threats, including micro and macro factors to understand the context in which organization operates. And then another key characteristic is decision making. When talk about strategic management, you talk about decision making. So strategic management involves making strategic decisions, so decisions that help the organization move in the direction the organization decided to take so as to achieve its objective. And then integration of function or functions. So talk about integration of many functions. So strategic management emphasizes the integration of all functional areas within the organization. So when we talk about integration, we talk about ensuring that all the functions in the organization help in achieving the organization's goals. So they are aligned so as to enable the organization to achieve its objectives. And then competitive advantage. Another is a core aim is to achieve and sustain competitive advantage over rivals. So by leveraging unique capabilities or market positions. And then also dynamic and adaptive. So strategic management is not static process. So it is not a process that is not moving. So it keeps on changing. And that is why we talked about it as a process of continuous all the time, monitoring, evaluating, and also adapting to changes. And then also strategic management involves top management. We talk about the strategic decisions. So these ones are made by the top management or those people occupying the highest levels of management. And then cross-functional. So you cannot talk about strategic management without talking about the cross-functional. So when we talk about cross-functional as a characteristic of strategic management, talk about, so we said that top management is involved. But when we talk about strategic management, it requires participation and input from various levels and functions within the organization. So cross-functional meaning that all the functional units within the organization are involved so as to when it comes to the process of decision making, ensure that you get input from each and every functional unit within the organization. And then another characteristic is resource allocation. Yeah, so the decisions that are made most of the time are about organizational resources. So how organizational resources are allocated. So these resources include financial resources, human resources, also technological resources. So they ensure that these resources are best allocated. And then question B, number 2B, Boma Limited is in the process of analyzing its business environment. It says the various types of business environment that may be flagged during the analysis. So when Boma Limited analyzes its business environment, they typically flag two main types. So we have the internal and external environment. Yeah, so the internal environment, we talk about the factors within the organization. So the factors that the organization has control over. Talk about the factors within the organization, or those factors influenced by the management or the top managers. So they include the organizational structure. So here we talk about organizational structure. We talk about how the organization is organized. Talk about decision making, reporting lines, hierarchy. And then another one is a corporate culture. So here are the shared values, beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors of employees within the organization. For example, a strong and positive culture can be a competitive advantage. So it should be encouraged. Then have technological capabilities. So the company's access to and proficiency in using technology. So this one can impact operations, innovations, and competitiveness. And then have human resources or human capital. So the skills, knowledge, experience, and motivation of the workforce. The consultant, in the case highlighted the importance of capital, human capital for competitive advantage. So here you talk about the employees or the human resource within the organization. So aiming to get the best from the employees within the organization. So in human resource management, we say that human or the people who work in the organization or the personnel are the most strategic resources. So therefore, they should be managed well. So that one include the staffing levels, training, and also employee engagement. And then another internal factor is or internal environment is the financial resources. So here we talk about the availability of funds in form of capital, cash flow, financial stability. So it will determine how the company's ability to invest and grow. And then we have physical assets. So here we talk about the company's property, plant, equipment, including infrastructure, like the centralized warehouse in Kilimo Foods case. And then we have research and development capabilities, another internal environment, so the capacity of innovation and developing new products. So the second is the external environment. So here we talk about the factors outside the organization control that can significantly impact its operation and strategies. So the consultant, so in our case, he classified factors into micro and macro environmental factors. So micro or external environment, you talk about the factors which are not within the control of the organization. So they can be classified according to what we saw in our case study. They can further be classified into macro and micro environment. So when we talk about micro environment here, you talk about the task environment. So these are factors that directly affect the organization's operations and are specific to the industry or market. So we have customers, competitors, suppliers, intermediaries, publics. All these factors, they directly affect the organization. For example, the customers, as an organization, you need to know your target market, what they need, what they prefer or preferences, and also their buying behavior. So you should ensure you strive and ensure that you understand your customers for you to be competitive. That is why we see an example, the Kilimo Foods company. It connects farmers and buyers. Also, you must strive to get to know about the competitors, for example, what they are offering. And then when it comes to macro environment, so this one is the general environment. Here we talk about the PESTEL. So PESTEL stands for political, economical factors, social factor, technological factors, environmental factors, and legal factors. So political factors, government policies, political stability, and trade regulations, and tax policy. So all these will influence the organization in one way or another. Also, when it comes to economic factors, for example, economic growth, inflation, interest rates, exchange rates, and consumer purchasing, all these play a part in how, and sometimes it can become very hard for an organization to continue because of these factors. So for example, if the economy is not doing well, or if there is inflation, so it means that the organization may be forced to increase employees' salaries to cope with the increase in cost of living. So sometimes that one can become difficult for the organization, as a result being forced to declare some employees redundant. And when we talk about social factors, good example is demographic trends. Talk about the demographic factors, composition of the population. Talk about cultural norms, lifestyle changes, consumer attitudes. So all these, as an organization, you must understand them for you to be able to be competitive.
So if you like this video, you can always enroll with us. You'll be able to access more of these revision sessions, and also you'll be able to find well done lectures or pre-recorded videos for all the KASNEB courses as well as CHRP. And in case of anything, you can always reach us out. We have our contact details on the screen. Feel free to call, feel free to WhatsApp anytime. So thank you, and let's meet in our next session.